Hey guys, my name is Matumio, and welcome to another episode of Sunday Mailbox. This is a video series where you, the viewer, can submit your gaming or Battlefield-related questions, and then I will give my humble opinion on them. To get the formalities out of the way real quick, if you would like to submit your own questions that can be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below, or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. The first question for today comes from Sam, and it is, what do you think of DICE making the Commander's supply crate act as a spawn beacon for their team? This can help reduce spawn killing on Conquest, as it offers a way for a competent commander to get their team out of the spawn, but won't be overpowered as it's a very noticeable and can be destroyed. Well, I definitely don't think it's a bad idea, that is for sure, but honestly, you could probably make this a brand new tool in the arsenal of the commander, because right now I feel like the role just doesn't have enough things to do. Like, when you're in that position, all you really do is spam the UAV and the counter UAV, and then every once in a while you may do a couple other things here and there. But when you really get down to it, that position consists of spamming the UAV. And so if you had another tool at the arsenal of the commander, well, that just gives them one other thing that they have to think about and to kind of micromanage around the map. It would probably have to have a really long reload time though, even if it was very distinctive, even if it was this massive beacon that is placed down on the ground. If you can place it anywhere, which I'm assuming that commander would have the option to do, well, why not place it on top of a building that's right next to an objective? That would be a huge advantage for your team. Sure, you know, the commander has to do that action. They have to be smart about it, and why not give them that bonus? But in the same instance, you don't want it to be blatantly overpowered where it's almost impossible to know where the enemy's going to come from because they're always spawning out of these random beacons that are scattered around the map. It would have to be well balanced. But honestly, when I first read your question, it really made me start to think more about the commander in general, and I honestly would like if DICE maybe thought about bringing back the way it worked back in Battlefield 2. I know it's never going to happen for Battlefield 4, that is a pipe dream, but for the next Battlefield game, if they wanted to add in the commander mode once again, why not make a return to the system that everyone fell in love with back in the day? If you never played Battlefield 2, the way the system worked is that if you wanted to use the commander assets, they needed to be functional, they needed to be operational on the battlefield. The great thing about Battlefield 2's system is that if you wanted to deny every single asset or tool that the commander had, you had the ability to do that. Your team was getting bombarded by mortar strikes? Go into the enemy base, sneak behind enemy lines, and fire a bunch of RPGs at the artillery cannons. You didn't want to deal with a constant UAV up in the sky? Well, go on over to the satellite dish, place some C4 down, and blow it up. It was awesome. It was like a side objective that you could partake in. It wouldn't directly benefit your team winning. It wasn't like a capture point where it slowly ticked down the enemy team's tickets. But what it did do is that it indirectly benefited your team because you wouldn't have to deal with mortar strikes. You wouldn't give the enemy all that great minimap information. It was a really cool system. And while I know it's not easy to add that into a modern first-person shooter, it's not easy to balance that out for all of the maps, and I'm assuming that's the reason why DICE didn't add it into Battlefield 4. If they do want to add in a commander system for the upcoming game, not only do I think that there should be some assets like you recommended, having in maybe a different spawn beacon so that if your team is struggling, you can really start to swing it into your favor, but also just make it so that these assets can be destroyed if the enemy team really wants to shut down the enemy commander. I thought it was a really cool system back in Battlefield 2. It was a side objective that you could partake in, and overall, it was way more fleshed out than what we have right now in Battlefield 4. The next question for today comes from Dom, and it is, what are your thoughts on Far Cry 4 having Day 1 DLC? I cannot believe how bad Ubisoft is when it comes to DLC content, or really anything that they're involved with. I thought it was pretty much established amongst the gaming community and really anyone out there that you never partake in Day 1 DLC. If you've created a game and it's ready for launch, but you've also created some other content that's right there ready for launch, but you're gonna hide it behind a paywall, that's just not how you should be conducting business. How is that not a slap in the face to all the loyal fans that have put down $60 already for your game, expecting that they're going to get the full experience, or at least all the content that is ready to go at launch, but if they really want everything, they're going to have to put down another $30, going from a $60 game all the way up to a $90? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And while I am sure Far Cry 4 is still going to be a fantastic title, I'm sure that the DLC content really isn't going to add that many new missions. It's really the principle of the entire operation. I know a lot of people online are upset, but that's also true for everyone online. Everyone seems to be upset. But I have some friends that were excited about Far Cry 4, but are now simply refusing to buy the game because of the principle of this business practice. This is not the way that you should be conducting business or treating your loyal fans or really any of your customers. It rubs me the wrong way. I know that a lot of people just do not like the way that Ubisoft has been handling things over the last couple of years, and this is just further proof that they are out of touch with the user base and the community at large. The next question is, what do you think of the knifing system in Bad Company 2 compared to Battlefield 3/4, and how do you think it contributed to the gameplay? I loved the way that the knifing mechanic worked back in Bad Company 2. It was brutal, satisfying, visceral, and while I know that some people complained about that system because in some circumstances it was more advantageous to bring a knife to a gunfight, and I know that that rubbed people the wrong way. It felt more like the Call of Duty panic knifing type of mechanics. But there was something inherently satisfying about going through that animation and then just stabbing it right in their neck. The animation was really cool, the sound was awesome, like the entire package was incredible back in that game. That being said though, I do understand why DICE went the direction that they did with Battlefield 3 and in Battlefield 4. And personally, from an objective standpoint and just looking at the mechanics that each of these games have, I would say that Battlefield 3's system is objectively superior to all of these games. First of all, you don't have the panic knifing issue that you had back in Bad Company 2. Like I mentioned, that was a large critique of the game. It sucks when you are shooting at someone, all of a sudden they just stab you right in the neck and instantly kill you. That doesn't feel fair. And at the same time, you don't have to deal with the ridiculous counter knifing system that they added into Battlefield 4. I despised it. I know that many of you guys loathe the way that it works in Battlefield 4. And so from an objective standpoint, while I love the system back in Bad Company 2, I think that my favorite out of the bunch is Battlefield 3. The next question for today comes from Bart, and it is, what do you think if when you're playing Battlefield 4 Hardcore mode and you throw a motion sensor, your team's minimap appears and uses some kind of fog of war to reveal the area of the motion sensor? This has been one of my biggest critiques of hardcore mode in Battlefield, is because while I do enjoy the gameplay, I play hardcore all the time. A lot of you have converted me to that playstyle because I really enjoy that type of combat. But a lot of the gadgets and a lot of the way that DICE went about balancing out the normal game doesn't make any sense in hardcore mode. Like, the Recon class really got shafted in this playstyle because if you think about it, almost all of their gadgets rely on the minimap. You have the motion balls, the MAV, the tugs, the new decoy devices being added into the game, and every single one of these gadgets relies upon the fact that you have access to a minimap and you can spot people on that minimap. And I know that some people will argue, and this is a valid argument, that when an enemy does go into that motion sensor, it will change the pitch so that it will notify you that an enemy is nearby. But that requires that you are essentially camping around your tugs the entire time if you do want to take advantage of that. As soon as you go out to try and capture an objective or move away from your tugs to go do something else, well, if you played normal Battlefield 4, it would still be amazing. It would still notify everyone on your team that someone is passing through that tugs or through that motion sensor. But because you're now a little bit away from that area, you don't hear that, you don't get the little ping, and so you can't use that information to your advantage. And so I think that your suggestion is at least a solid one. I mean, maybe you guys that play on hardcore a lot, you will disagree with me. Maybe you're a recon who has played hardcore since day one and you have mastered the mechanic and I have no idea what I'm talking about. But I think that there should be something done to elevate the power, or at least the usefulness of the recon gadget when it comes to that game mode. This is actually true for a lot of the gadgets in hardcore. Like, it's clearly not balanced. The game was not balanced around this mode overall, but it would be nice if the recon gadgets, in my opinion, were a little bit better than they are right now. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's Sunday Mailbox. I hope you enjoyed. Once again, if you would like to submit your own question that could be featured in an upcoming episode, you can do so by leaving a comment down below or by sending me a Facebook and Twitter message. Until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.